In this video, we're going to review how to solve one- and two-step inequalities. Solving an inequality is almost exactly like solving equations, with one major difference. If you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the inequality symbol. Right? Example number 1. I have k minus 18 is greater than or equal to negative 21. I see subtraction, so I'm going to use addition to solve it. I'm going to add 18 to both sides. And when I do that, these two cancel. This is the addition property of inequality that allows me to do that. And I'm left with k is greater than or equal to negative 3. So, in order to graph that, I have a closed dot on negative 3, and all the numbers that are greater than negative 3 are to the right of negative 3. Example number 2. I have 361 is less than or equal to negative 19x. In order to solve this, I see multiplication by a negative 19, so I'm going to need to divide by negative 19. Right here, I'm dividing by a negative. So when I divide by a negative, I have to flip my symbol. So instead of less than or equal to, this is going to become greater than or equal to. 361 divided by 19, I believe is 19. Let me just double check that really quickly. Correct. So this is going to be negative 19 is greater than or equal to x. And I'm going to rewrite this so that the variable is first. So I have x is less than or equal to negative 19. So I have a dot on negative 19, which is between negative 20 and negative 18. My arrow is going to point to the left because that's where all the numbers that are less than negative 19 are located. Example number 3. I have m over 18 is less than or equal to 1/3. Notice my variable is being divided by 18, so in order to solve that, I'm going to multiply everything by 18. And when I have fractions, I like to write my multiplication in this manner with the grouping symbols or the brackets. So m over 18 times 18 is m, and then that is less than or equal to 1/3 times 18 over 1. I can cross simplify this, so I can divide both 3 and 18 by 3, so I have 1 here and 6 here. So I end up with m is less than or equal to 6. So I have a closed dot on 6. All the numbers that are less than 6 are to the left. So I'm going to draw my arrow pointing to the left. Last one-step inequality. I have p minus a negative 16 is less than 3. I have a double symbol here, which really doesn't help me too much in algebra, so I'm going to go ahead and switch that. Minus a negative is the same as adding a positive, so I have p plus 16 is less than 3. I see addition, so in order to solve that, I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. That's the subtraction property of inequality. And I'm going to be left with p is less than negative 13. So I have an open circle on negative 13, and all the numbers less than negative 13 are pointing to the left. All right, moving on to some two-step inequality examples. Again, steps are the same as with equations, except that if you multiply or divide by a negative, you'll have to flip the symbol. So I have negative 4 minus 5v is less than or equal to negative 29. First thing I need to do is get rid of anything that's added or subtracted. So the negative 4 is subtracted from that variable, or is using subtraction. In order to cancel out the negative 4, that constant, I'm going to add 4 to both sides. That's the addition property of inequality. These two cancel. Don't forget to bring the negative sign down, so negative v is less than or equal to negative 29 plus 4 is negative 25. I see multiplication, so I'm going to use division, and I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 5. So right here, I'm dividing by a negative, So I'm going to flip my symbol right away. This becomes greater than or equal to. Division property of inequality. And I end up with V is greater than or equal to 5. So I have a closed dot on 5. All the numbers that are greater than 5 are pointing to the right. So my arrow points to the right. All right, example number 2. I have negative 36 is greater than negative 2k minus 8. So I have 8 that's being subtracted, so I'm going to add 8 to both sides. Negative 36 plus 8 leaves me with negative 28 is greater than negative 2k for the addition property of inequality. I see multiplication, so I'm going to use the division property of inequality. I'm dividing both sides by a negative 2. When I divide by a negative, I need to flip my symbol so that greater than becomes a less than. 28 divided by 2 is 14, both negative, so my answer is positive. And I'm left with 14 is less than k. Flip that around to put the variable first. I have k is greater than 14. So I have an open dot on 14, and my arrow is pointing to the right because that's where all the numbers greater than 14 are located. All right, example number 3 for two-step inequalities. I have negative 1 is less than n plus 10 divided by negative 21. Remember that division bar acts like a grouping symbol, so I have to get rid of this denominator first. The n and the 10 are grouped together. We can't get rid of the 10 until we get rid of the negative 21. So I see division. I'm going to use multiplication property of inequality, and I'm multiplying both sides by negative 21. I'm multiplying by a negative, so I'm going to need to flip that sign right away. It's going to become a greater than. Negative 1 times negative 21 is a positive 21, and I'm left with n plus 10 on this side. See addition, so I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. 21 minus 10 leaves me with 11 is greater than n, subtraction property of inequality. And I'm going to rewrite that to put the n first, so I have n is less than 11. Open circle on 11 for graphing, arrows pointing to the left because that's where all the numbers that are less than 11 are located to the left. All right, last example for two-step inequalities. I have negative 7 plus r over negative 2, and that starts with, 3 is greater than negative 7 plus r over negative 2. Okay, notice that my negative 7 is not grouped with the r. It's not up in the division, above the division bar, so I have to get rid of the constant first. I'm going to use the addition property of inequality, and I'm going to add 7 to both sides. 3 plus 7 is 10, so I have 10 is greater than r divided by negative 2. I see division, so I'm going to use multiplication, and I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 2. And right here I'm multiplying by a negative. So when I multiply by that negative number, I'm going to need to flip my inequality symbol, so it's going to become a less than. 10 minus 2 is 8, so I have 8 is less than, let's see, 8 is less than r, and I'm trying to see where my number line got messed up here. Add 7, and 7 times the, oh, sorry, this is a times, not a plus. There we go. So I have negative 20 is less than r. Can't read my own handwriting. So I have negative 20 is less than r. If I flip that around and put the variable first, I have r is greater than negative 20. So I have an open dot on negative 20, and I'm looking for all the numbers that are greater than negative 20, and so that's going to be everything to the right. So my arrow is going to point to the right.